So my name's Sierra, for those of you who don't know me. I'm a junior planner and administrative assistant with Alder Hill Planning. I started doing contract work with Alder Hill last year, mostly helping Elaine with the women and girls safety sessions. I was hired on full-time in January, so it's been quite a learning curve getting hired on into a new position, and then COVID happening and not being able to work one-on-one or in person with our team. So everything I've done and been doing has all been a learning curve and learning as we go. But I was really excited to be a part of this breakout because planning for youth is one of my passions. I really do believe that children are the future and their voices are just as important as everybody else's, and they deserve to be heard. So I'll let Kyle do a little introduction and then we can get started.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kyle Alec, and you may have heard from me or seen me or heard me struggle over the last few days. But I was actually, I am still super stoked for this session because it gives me the opportunity to have a nice little breather. It gives me an opportunity to talk about one of my passions, which is youth. My name's Kyle Alec. I'm a junior planner with Alder Hill Planning as well. I started doing youth engagements when I was about 14. I was a DJ. So I do like little motivational speaking, showing other kids how to talk, how to let out their feelings a little bit. And then afterwards, we'd always have a dance party. And that was super fun. And I did that for a long time. And it was cool because I was a kid teaching kids or showing kids how to work in a different way, and that was always one of my passions. Getting a little bit older, it's always been really fun to mentor now. I'm 25 years old, so I'm definitely starting to peek out of the realm of youth, or at least what I like to consider youth. But yeah, I love taking on more of the mentorship role now, and definitely being kind of like that role model for them. I was raised on a farm, so I have a really good work ethic. I was taught how to ride horses, bale hay, drive tractors, and things like that. So I really like old world type mentality when it comes to this stuff, and I think it also helps with teaching youth. But yeah, that's just a little bit about me. I'll let Sierra take it away a little bit more from here.
So I've just went ahead and put a link in the chat box for our room here. I was trying to figure out how I wanted to kind of conduct this workshop. Kyle and I really do like having more of discussions. We like when everybody is able to get a word in and everybody is able to participate. And I found this thing called Jamboard on Google, and I started playing around with it. I've never seen it before, but it's really great. So I put the link for a Jamboard in our chat there. If everyone wants to click it, they'll be able to see it on their own screen and be able to play around with it all together. So it's kind of like we're doing something together in the same room, even though we can't do that. Mm-hmm. So, planning for youth. There is a lot that comes with that because young people typically aren't as confident when it comes to speaking out, especially if they're in a group of officials or intimidating adults. They're not going to want to speak out. So what are some ways that we can make sure that they're comfortable in the situation? How can we make sure that they're actually going to talk? So I went ahead and just made a couple of slides on this Jamboard, and I just kind of wanted to start with a little bit of a discussion, just kind of popcorn style, wherever anybody wants to chime in. And I just wanted to start with this first part. Why is it important to make sure that every child's voice is heard? Why is it important that we hear from youth from all different walks of life?
Just a technical thing. I'm having trouble accessing the board. Oh.
I just shared it on the screen.
Okay,
so if
great.
you can't get into it, you can still see what's going on.
So I'm gonna go ahead and just chime in here. One process that I use a lot when doing engagements with youth and kind of creating a safe space with them is a process that me and my mom do a lot in community engagement, and that is doing a process what we call as inaukenwich, and that's ensuring that everyone has the chance to speak, everyone is heard, and it's a really good process to have everyone's voice in. It's also considered a ceremony as well through storytelling, which really helps set that space for common respect and things like that. And the way you do it is you just you start out by saying what is on your heart and saying genuinely how you feel at the time. And I'll always start it out first, just because you can't talk and expect someone to do what you were not willing to do yourself. So I'll always start out by greeting, going into my life story, especially when engaging youth. It kind of opens me up, makes me a little bit more vulnerable to them, because I did go through a little bit of a rough childhood, alcoholic parents. I got taken away from my mom when I was about 2. That's how I was raised on the farm. And then just growing up in kind of, like a systematic racism. Where I've lived in town was definitely not more of an uppity school, so I was bullied pretty much elementary up through high school. I didn't mind. I didn't like school anyway until after high school, I was given amazing opportunities. But yeah, that's just kind of like a little bit of my story, but that's what I do at the beginning of every session: open myself up, make myself vulnerable, in the hopes to make them feel more safe and that they can share as well. And then you just go around the whole circle asking everyone how they genuinely feel. And hopefully that opens it up, as well as saying it's a ceremony. And Alec is just built that way.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks, Kyle. Cassina as well shared in the chat that it's important to let him, her, or them know that they matter, and there is no right or wrong answer. Engagement is important. There is no right or wrong.
Awesome. Did anybody else have anything they wanted to add to that first part? Their input. Oh, I just saw another one in the chat. I'll make sure I get it down here.
Yeah, so Katie said their input is important. Any decisions made now by the powers that be impact them. Some may not see it as they think in the present, not the future. Yeah, totally. Yeah, and again, just why is it important to make youth feel safe? Because generally they don't feel safe as well. That's one thing that I've witnessed way too many times, especially doing the work that I do with working a lot in First Nations communities, is especially as you get more to the north, it's just not safe in community. It's people don't feel safe. It's just something that isn't, it's a luxury, I would say, in First Nations communities for the most part. So that's why doing this work and giving youth an opportunity to feel safe and welcomed and like they're actually heard is something that I love to give, is that. So while Sierra's typing that one out, oh, we got another one, Regina. Reassuring them that it's a safe space, safe place, and their voice will only be heard in this safe space. Yeah, totally. And also giving them that reassurance that whatever they say in that circle or whatever they say with you, to you is in confidence, and you're not going to be going around saying the story or giving examples from them. Always let them know that they can come to us if they need, definitely.
For me, in my small community, I like to let our youth know that I am approachable. So even if it's just saying hi while you're, going into the store or whatever, they know like you're willing to talk to them. Just have a small conversation and build that relationship with them. So I'm 32 now, and there's young people in my community who are 13, 14, and they can approach me and we can have a conversation. Or if they need help, they know they can come to me. Um, but again, like we're only a small community, so we all know what's going on and whatever. But that's really important to be approachable, even in tough situations. Like they need that safety.
Mhm. Yeah, totally. And that's another thing too with yeah, doing that, not even just in your community. If you're doing community engagement in a community where there is a res store where you do see other people around the community, yeah, put yourself out there, take the first step in saying hi, making yourself friendly. Nirvana said, from working with youth in the past few years, I've picked up that you have to make them feel heard and valid because they are. Repeating everyone else, yes, 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 making that safe place, letting them know that they are in a space free of judgment. Yeah, the youth have great ideas. They totally do. Create activities that interest them, where they all want to come and participate. Yeah, and that's the number one thing. That's why I love doing the dances. That's why it was a hobby, but that's what really got youth to come out was, hey, they'll come take part in a little bit of a sharing circle or whatever kind of engagement session that I'll be having. But I would always bring turntables or rent out a PA system for that evening and rent out, $20 party lights from wherever, and yeah, host a little dance. And it doesn't need to be anything crazy and be in a gym with the lights turned off. And youth love that.
Oh, I like what Regina just said. When they give a suggestion, repeat it back to them. Okay, so I hear you asking for. This is reassuring them that they are heard, and it confirms their suggestion. I think that's really important. Kids really do learn from repetition, and from knowing that they're heard is going to make them want to speak out even more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Yeah, reaffirming what they say, like they want to hear what they say. So if you're saying that, don't try to shorten it down to the gist of what they're saying. Try to say as much words as they said. Try to let them know that you actually listen. Go down on their level of height when listening or talking. Yep, totally. So while Sierra is typing out the rest of the questions or rest of the responses for question 1, we can go ahead and move on to the second one now. How can we use social media to engage youth? This is probably one of the biggest ones and one of the best tools that we've come across and started using is technology. And I don't know why I never started using it more before. But recently we've started using TikTok's been a huge thing. TikTok challenges, asking youth to make a TikTok about things that are happening in the community, make a TikTok about picking up garbage around town, because they're 30 seconds to 1 minute long, and it doesn't take a lot of effort to make one. So if a youth wants to walk down a sidewalk and would just make a TikTok of a minute recording themselves pick up garbage, that's amazing. And then obviously giving out prizes with that is Apple gift cards, Amazon, and Spotify are usually the best ones that we do.
Fast food restaurants are another really big one.
Fast food, yeah, fast food's another one, especially for remote communities. McDonald's and Tim Hortons are usually the safest bet. But yeah, I always like getting Spotify gift cards or things like that. Some subscription services that some people might not have or might not be able to get, but if they're given the opportunity with that, they'll have the chance to try it Definitely YouTube has been amazing with a lot of things, especially as you could see from the CCP workshop. The Pass the Drum was an amazing idea. That was amazing. I've seen it a lot of things before with like the celebrities doing the punching challenge where they punch each other through the cameras. But yeah, there's so many things you can do with social media. Those are just a few things I do. I'm not sure if any of you guys do any other cool or quirky ways to engage youth using social media, because I would also love to get some new ideas as well.
Regina just added a comment in our chat. When doing door prizes or survey prizes, always include prizes for all age groups. That's very important. You're not going to want to give a 5-year-old the same thing you're giving a 15-year-old. Actually, I'm going to put that right here.
Yeah, so another thing that we've done recently is actually investing into community, like finding a really good youth champion in community is really good. Getting them to start to lead like a community social media youth page is what we've done. So we'll invest to getting into like a cheap camcorder or something, or if they have a phone, you know, get like a pay-and-go minute pack or something so they can have actual data so they can record more and upload. So what we've done recently is we bought a camcorder and everything, and we asked them to make a video project to upload to YouTube. The youth would just go around interviewing youth or like whatever topic we would want the subject to be on. They would go out and make a video, edit it, and do all that. And the prize in return is they get to keep the camcorder, they get to keep the camera, and they also, depending on how many hours they put in, they'll get an honorarium at the end to compensate for time as well. Other than that, Facebook's probably one of the easiest and best ways to event plan, do all that, and get events kind of out there in community. Pretty much if you get into a community Facebook page and you slap something in there, odds it's going to get found or seen and spread. So yeah, that's probably the safest bet for engaging is definitely going to be Facebook event pages and doing that, spreading it, making sure you can get into a community Facebook page, and you're pretty much home free. Other than that, there's not a whole lot that I can think for social media. Oh, we just had Samantha post. Instagram Live is popular with our kids. Nothing specific. Just say that, check it in. Okay. Yeah, that's another thing I didn't even think of is I actually do watch a lot of activists and things like that and Instagram Lives quite often, and you do get a lot of really good information from that. Sina, use Jordan's principle to issue our tablets, laptops for all youth to use themselves, especially during these COVID times. Yeah, so that's one thing that that I've really liked seeing happen is because I have seen some communities do it where they'll invest in and have Chromebooks for high school students or college students going out, and the bands will just provide it for them as long as they're enrolled for that semester. Yeah, the Instagram Live one it was a good idea. Yeah, other than that, I can't think of anything else that would go towards that. Regina, with some social media, I believe that always ask the parents' permission. Yes.
Yes.
That is probably going to be the number one thing, is always making sure the child is old enough to have the social media account or is allowed to by their guardian. Okay. So from there, I think we can move on to question 3. What can we get or learn from the youth? Before we go into that, Regina, there could be custody issues that may cause that problem. Yeah, definitely. And sometimes, yeah, it's unable to avoid those because I personally have been through those same things as well, and it's just hard because one kid, you'll have a 7-year-old that'll be on Instagram, TikTok, all that, unmonitored, but then you also have like a 13-year-old that isn't allowed on anything. But for question 3, what can we get or learn from the youth? What are some good takeaways, good tools that we can learn from them?
Empathy is good.
Mm-hmm. Learn empathy from the youth. Learn their story. Learn that their stories are just as powerful, overcoming struggles. Yeah, that's one big thing is definitely learning where they come from. Really understanding them on that level because times have definitely changed. And there's a lot of different challenges that youth do go through today that a lot of us can't see because it's just it's a generational thing.
Another big thing we can learn from youth or from children is acceptance. You don't see children not liking one another because of where a person comes from, because of their background. Children are so accepting, and I think if adults could take a note, I think the world would be a better place.
Yeah.
Nirvana just said, I think youth and children are a clean slate with unconditional love. Absolutely. Always remind me to love like they do. Definitely. Ooh, Regina just said, I'm hoping with my new project for work, having youth help teach technology and storytelling with elders. And our goal is more volunteerism and possibly school credit for a course. That is such a good idea. I think youth working with elders is amazing. They can teach each other so much.
Katie said, let's see, Katie, the youth perspective is awesome. Something you may overlook as an older person, seen through a young person's eyes can change any plan, issue you are dealing with. Yeah, definitely. Tracy said, we can get direction from their own future. Youth are learning new things that the older generation do not understand. Yeah, it's definitely a thing is that the youth perspective is always changing. It's always adapting. The youth perspective is always going to be different in any generation just because the amount that times are changing. Like there's definitely things that I'll even ask my younger siblings about technology or just on general issues that I had no clue or no idea that was an issue. Like they're just educated on so many amazing things that we don't even think of, which is a good takeaway. Ben said, guest speakers tell traditional stories in language, cultural classes, and how to use these stories to adapt to this generation coming up perspectives. Yeah, that's the other thing is that definitely there is that sense of losing culture for the most part. I've seen it in a lot of other communities that I've been to. Is that culture is definitely in the decline, just because it's the technology, the convenience of most things nowadays is that it has been changing. But yeah, connecting youth to elders is one of the biggest things that I always say is one of the greatest benefits and can change a kid's life. Me being raised by my grandparents and raised with culture and teachings is definitely what I give. I give them my life for bringing me up that way and raising me to be the way I am. Having that strong sense of respect and morals and work ethic. And I feel like a lot of kids can learn that and really get that from working and getting taught from elders. We have another one. Planning with youth to everyone. Creativity from youth. For instance, the research presentation style using drama. Play was done. Yeah. There's so many takeaways. Like the conversations, yeah, you can have with youth are just amazing. So it looks like question 3 is pretty filled up now as well. If anyone else wants to post asking about question 3, they can go ahead and do that. Also the board, the link is open. So if anyone wants to click that link, they can go and add to it as well. But we'll move on to the final one for this board saying, what can we give in return? So that's super broad, and I think it can be anything we can give them on so many levels, emotionally, physically, spiritually. There's so many things we can give them. Guidance, I'd say, and then prizes, because for the most part, youth do respond to being rewarded and having a reason to go out. Let's see, empowerment and courage. We can give encouragement. Yeah, we can definitely give that. That's one thing I definitely think that they need more of. And then Katie said, we can give them time, we can hear them, we can pay attention to them. And definitely one of the biggest things too with this is saying that these are some things that we shouldn't have to say or shouldn't be reminded of, which is kind of the sad thing, that this comes up. But it's awesome that we're bringing it up and saying it and saying that these things need to happen, because even though that we might bring it up, a lot of people might not. Give them opportunities to have a voice, definitely. And with that, what I say is that youth mentorship programs, youth internship programs are some of the best things that I think that youth can do. There's the AYIP program. There's so many different things you can do. Even in community, most natural resources departments have some form of youth leadership program and things like that. And those are some things that I think if a youth is looking for something to do and get out there, internships and mentorship programs are some of the best things to do. Regina said, give them an environment that is drug and alcohol free. Mm-hmm. They know it is a safe place to be a child. They won't have to babysit their siblings or cook. Yes. 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 That is one of the most accurate things I have read in a long time. But yes, it is. I am the oldest of 7 siblings. I pretty much raised every single one of them. And I didn't really have a chance to be a kid. And that's one of those things, is give kids time to be kids. And that's one of the biggest things. Kids are forced to grow up way too fast nowadays. Katie said, our nation is small, so when I attend meetings, if I can, I will bring a youth to see what I do, learn what our nation deals with. Yeah, so we used to have a land use planning committee, and most committees we have in community, we have a youth rep from community that'll sit on each planning committee that we have in Penticton. Give the youth more responsibility and roles in community. I guess that goes with empowerment. Yep. So that would be, yeah, totally doing, getting them out there, doing small things in community, volunteering with community gatherings and things like that. Sue said, how do you suggest engaging with those youth who have difficulty with anxiety, depression, or other issues such as maybe FASD? How do you promote mentorship and internships to those who have difficulty getting out of their comfort zones? That's going to be, before doing that, I think it's something that is definitely going to need to be more self-care, more self-empowerment care before going out into those public roles, those volunteer roles, is working on themselves. There's a lot of different programs that definitely help with anxiety and helping deal with depression. I've been through a few. I can attest that they do help a lot. And then from there, once their confidence is built up a little bit more, then you can encourage them and give them a little nudge towards those more public roles.
I think another really good idea for young people with who might have those issues, I think working with elders would be a good place to start. So it's just kind of this big circle thing. What can we do to make youth more comfortable? And maybe if kids do have anxiety or depression, getting them to work with elders and learning how to speak to somebody who is somebody that they aren't necessarily super close with.
Mm-hmm. Regina said, talk to their school and see if they're able to get credit for schooling if they volunteer many hours. Yes, so they're definitely, it would need to be more of like having to actually go through it and go to your youth counselor or school counselor and working out work experience or things like that. That it's definitely possible. You just need to personally set up meetings and get that ball rolling. Regina also said, talk to their parents and see what kind of things they do for their child when they're overwhelmed beforehand. Yeah. Laura said, can you give examples of what programs are available for youths in our session notes? Yes, so probably the one I praise the most for self-care and self-development in BC is probably going to be Choices. Choices is probably one of the better ones, especially for First Nations communities. They really focus on being accepting to spirituality and things like that, but also help boost confidence. I've gone through a few different times for different sessions, and it is amazing. It definitely does. It gives you a lot of self-esteem.
I'd like to give an example of one of the youth work that I have done. While I was overseas in Bhutan during an internship, we did research training with them. The youth was taught how to do qualitative research and social research, and so part of that from the community, it came to the research how to interview elders and how to jot that down, and note taking and all that. So that's where one of the programs was very good on getting the community feedback, and at the same time, the youth gained the work experience and got all the data, and that's when they presented using a play to create policies and stuff like that. It was successful. So I could share that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, youth programs on any level are just amazing. Anything that gets them out there and actually giving them actual experience is amazing. Anything. Sue said, any free programs? There aren't any free programs on the level that I'm thinking. There are definitely different options. Like I'm pretty sure there's a town near you, or you're in a city or town that has free youth counseling, youth for youth mentorship programs. So for instance, I live in Penticton, and we have this organization called The Foundry, where there's just youth mentors there all day. volunteers and youth can drop in and kind of get a sense of belonging, and there's definitely free programs that are offered. And I wouldn't consider it a friendship center either. It's more of a dedicated youth counseling situation. Regina said, children are pretty orange, and having workers who are also orange but gold to keep them in line to follow directions may help. Yeah, so what Regina's saying, I don't know if anyone's familiar with colors or color trait personalities, but orange is definitely labeled as more of the energetic, youthful one, you know, kind of just go, 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 do lots of things, wants to, is really just all over the place. And gold is more of the organized, systematic, rules type way of working. And then there's two other colors, but everyone is pretty much all colors. And that's really why I love choices as well, because they really dive into that. They really give you an in-depth understanding of each personality trait of all four colors. Everyone is made up of all four, but it's really understanding who is what color. And from there, once you understand what color they are, you can really start to understand how to interact and really be with them and really know how they work. So you can really know how to not hurt their feelings or brush them off on the wrong, or brush off at them on the wrong way. I jumbled up those words.
Okay. So if anybody has anything else they want to add, please keep sending your responses in the chat. I'm just going to move us on to the next screen here. So I was looking for some things to kind of put into this session, and I found this youth engagement checklist. It actually is an actual checklist, and I can make sure that that is put in the session notes. But I just wanted to kind of go through and we can look over this checklist together and see if your community or if you yourself are doing any of these things for youth engagement. And if we're not, what can we do to start moving towards that? So the first overarching comment on this checklist is youth engagement is a best practice for supporting the positive mental health and well-being of young people. It is an effective strategy to promote resiliency. So do we understand the value of youth engagement and pursue it as a best practice? Just from the comments I've been getting. From the comments we've been getting, from the discussion we've been having, it looks like everybody does understand the value of youth engagement. So we can go ahead and give that a great big check mark. We are initiating youth participation as a first step towards engaging young people. We are moving towards full youth engagement where appropriate. So are there any opportunities where we can actually let youth lead the conversation or let them lead a meeting? And I'll also send out this checklist. Best practices support youth being involved in organizational decision-making processes and at all levels of program development, planning, implementation, and evaluation. So it says at the top here on the first part here, our organization's governance structure has a place for youth representation at multiple levels. There are planned opportunities for youth to speak during meetings. We have established an all-youth advisory council. This advisory council has a strong voice in organizational decision-making. We have safety policies to ensure vulnerable youth are not re-traumatized through their participation.
Before we go through that, we did get one more question from Bonnie. Is there any funding to send your youth to choices? It depends. Generally, if you have if you're in First Nations community and you have the access to go to your band office, Generally, most of the time you can go and you can ask, and sometimes they have funding for self-development for band members, and sometimes they will pay for youth to go to teen camp. And that's the one that I'd recommend for youth. Up to 17 is what I'd recommend teen camp, which is the children's youth type format. 17 and up, I'd recommend full adult choices is probably the way to go. But yes, just you can probably phone your band office, or and if not, I would probably say that there would be some sort of resources at one of those youth counseling or community counseling areas. But it sounds like there is 9 minutes, 8 minutes left in the session. So we'll wrap this up and then we'll open it up for just general questions and discussion. So yeah, we'll just leave, we'll leave this up, and then we'll just have a conversation if anyone wants to do that. Just give everybody a chance to speak, ask any questions that they're really wanting to ask in these last little bits. Any feedback, anything we can add would also be amazing. Slides and resources will be available. Yep.
Got another little checklist here that we can go over together. How do you know that your youth are engaged? What are the signs that they are actively involved? Youth interests are reflected in the committee, task force, or program. Youth are involved in stating goals or needs. Youth are involved in activity and program planning and evaluation. We have youth-led activities. Youth are peer trainers, teachers, advocates, or counselors. Youth are involved in civic and social justice movements. Youth hold positions of power in the committee, task force, or agency. Youth have fun and are excited to be a part of the activity, program, or agency. Youth report feeling valued and respected as partners in the agency.
Okay. I also want to get a check-in from everybody as well before we leave. Just a one-word check-in to see how you felt about this session. I also want to say thank you to everybody that's here, everyone that asked questions. I want to say thank you to Laura and Pablo for being in here, being our support. But yeah, we're just going to go through the list. Anyone who wants to say how they felt with one word, how they felt of the session, even a few words if they want to. I'm going to go down the list and ask everyone individually. So if you want to either mute your mic or type in the chat how you felt about the session, that would be awesome. And we're going to be starting out with Amanda.
Encouraged. I'm encouraged.
Awesome. Perfect. We're going to go rapid fire here. We're going to go with Rochelle. And Tracy, Rochelle is inspired. Tracy says, I hear some people say that millennials get offended easy. Not sure if that is true, but wouldn't it be nice to handle that in a good way?
I wouldn't say millennials, I'd say Gen Z. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'd say yes. Sue said hopeful. I'm also hopeful. But yeah, I would say that you definitely need to be politically correct on a lot of things when having discussions with youth.
Yes.
5 minutes left.
Re-energized.
Re-energized. That's awesome.
I like that one.
Yeah, I definitely do feel re-energized after being the man in the chair for 3 days straight.
Motivated.
Motivated. Vern said motivated. Awesome. Linda. There's actually a lot more people in here than I thought. That's awesome. Okay. Yeah, anyone else? Jeanette.
3 minutes.
With 3 minutes left? Okay. Jeanette, you can read that one.
Jeanette said, so happy to see both young folks taking the lead on things and older generations interested in connecting with them. It's like we all want to connect. It takes energy, courage, and persistence. Thank you for that, Jeanette. It really does. And I think it is important, like we were saying before, youth want to talk to like-minded people. So if maybe people like us who are kind of in the middle take the lead with talking to youth, they might open up a little bit more and we can help bridge that divide. Laura said, thanks for the awesome information and resources. COVID is making us all jump on technology and social media. Yeah, it is. Holy. Mm-hmm. I've had my laptop crash from all the new programs I've been downloading onto it.
Okay.
Re-engaged.
Re-engaged.
Mm-hmm.
So when we started like a group, we will probably have to lead a little bit, depending on the composition. If we have a bunch of listeners, then would that be the best way to do it? Just to lead for a while until we find the leader of the group or the youth leaders of the group?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Like when we start to work with the youth, and we start to start these the youth programming for our CCPs, is that we would probably have to lead the group a little bit more till we find the leaders of the group, the youth leaders, and then
yes,
they would more.
You would, but when it comes to youth champions, they tend to come out very quickly. You'll recognize very quickly in these sessions what youth want to take charge. And it's a good idea just to hand it over to them and see what they can do on their own. But normally those youth who want to lead will come up very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when leading youth events for CCP engagement, definitely just generalize, just have a open pizza party, open pizza night for sure, just to really get an understanding of who's interested. I find that if you're in community as well, and if you have access, we've done quad tours before, giving people who ever have a quad honorarium for them to lend a quad out for the day and get about 4 or 5 and get someone to lead them on a quad tour, take all the youth out on the quads. Here we go. Nirvana said, excited because I guess I myself am a youth. I'm only 19. In a bigger position in my community as the CCP coordinator. I am again just excited to see where my community will be in the future. That is awesome.
Yeah.
A 19-year-old CCP coordinator, that's amazing. I think I was only on the land use planning committee at that age. You taking on the lead as a coordinator at 19 that's amazing. Awesome. We have 30 seconds left. Kara said we have a youth council that they take on their own. That is amazing.
Cool.
Youth taking initiative themselves. Planning, wow, that's awesome. Yeah, exactly. Junior chief and council. Yeah, that's the thing. You can probably name it whatever. But yeah, a youth council is something that I think every community should have, and at least have a seat at regular chief and council every now and then.